After completing my Lowne Aerospace 3 playthrough with tech tree completion following the EVE surface return mission, I took things easier last week and sent a transforming rover surface base to the Mun, and had a lot of fun doing so. But everything in this playthrough so far has been 100% stock, albeit with some visual mods installed. But today, that's gonna change. We're still in the Lowne Aerospace 3 save file, but I'm gonna start incrementally adding mods to it. And I'm starting with two of my absolute favourites: Kerbal Planetary Base Systems by Nils277 and Stockalike Station Parts Expansion Redux by Natea. See description for download links if you want them too. These two mods add some amazing Stockalike surface base parts and some great space station parts as well. So let's explore both in a mega colonization special and deliver a monolithic surface base to the icy flats of Minmus and a giant space station to Minmus orbit, all in just one launch. Lord help me. We're going to start in the space plane hangar, building the surface base out of the Kerbal Planetary Base Systems mod. I really love the trapezoid-shaped habitat units that this mod provides, and I think it does a really good job aligning with the aesthetic of stock KSP as well. In fact, so much so that I was able to include a couple of stock KSP components to this base, and they didn't look out of place at all, in the form of the cupola and science lab to form that central tower with the four arms extending from the base of it, and they contain science labs, crew lounges, living quarters, a greenhouse, some nice big windowed rooms, and a big nuclear reactor as well, which I've never used before, so just to play it safe, I added some solar panels as well, just in case the reactor will need refueling and I'll forget to do that or something else. We kind of got two sources of power to, keep the batteries topped up on this lab. I briefly considered trialing out a second tower here, but didn't really like the look of that, so that second lab tower will be disappearing momentarily. Yeah, wait for it, and yeah, it's gone. We've also got some detachable fuel tanks with landing engines on, so that will allow the surface base to descend from Minmus orbit and touch down on the surface. But it's looking like the surface base build is done. Now, before building this thing's rocket and associated space station, I did do some tests on the runway to ensure everything worked before proceeding. I had a moment where I thought the mod was a bit broken before remembering that some of the modules are inaccessible until they're deployed. So yeah, I learned something there. I'm always one to love learning new things, and I've been having a blast learning how to code using boot.dev, sponsor of this video, and it's honestly one of the few coding platforms that hasn't bored me out of my mind. I'm learning back-end development in Python and Go, and what makes boot.dev different is how hands-on and gamified it is. I'm not just watching videos, I'm writing tons of real code, solving challenges, and building projects from the ground up as I learn, which I really think is the only way you can learn to code. Boot.dev works by turning learning into something that feels like a video game. XP, quests, achievements, and an AI bear named Boot, who will help you out in understanding the material by asking the right questions instead of just giving away answers. What's great is that you can try the entire thing for free with their demo. Read all the lessons, watch the videos, and if you like it, you can unlock the full interactive experience with my code MattLowne for 25% off your first year. Just head to boot.dev, I'll drop the link and code right at the top of the description and in that pinned comment down there. Or simply scan that QR code on screen. Seriously, if you're even thinking about learning to code, this is worth checking out. Thank you, boot.dev, you're the best. Anyway, let's continue with the build of our rockets. There is the Minmus base, now transitioned into the vehicle assembly building, and we're going to start building the giant space station. So the surface base primarily used the Kerbal Planetary Base Systems mod. This is going to primarily use the Stockalike Station Parts Expansion Redux mod. I think just for the sake of simplicity, and the Station Parts mod has quite a long name, I'm going to just refer to these mods now as the surface-based mod and the Station Parts mod, and your full names of them are in the description, as well as a link to download them. So yeah, we've pretty much finished building the space station. It's got this lovely Stockalike gravity ring that unfolds itself. It's really great. I can't wait to show you guys when we get to Minmus and deploy it. And yeah, just eyeing the screen. I'm just adding a couple of little bits of features, but now I think it's time to start thinking about construction of the massive rocket that needs to get this thing off the launch pad and, to Minmus orbit, and then I guess, commence Minmus descent as well, because you don't want any kind of large boosters left stranded in orbit, right? So I jumped straight in with the largest diameter fuel tanks in the game if you don't have the Making History DLC. I do have the Making History DLC, which has one size larger, and we're going to be using those tanks for for the kind of the first stage. Well, I started off with the SLS style tanks, then decided, yes, no, we need the full-size Saturn V booster parts with loads and loads of Mastodon engines, which are the in-game stand-in for the F1, which is the main first stage engine of the Saturn V. And now I'm just like going crazy with auto strut to make sure this thing doesn't wobble itself to pieces. I then decided to add even more fuel to our first stage, and looking at the screen, I think that's pretty much the construction all done. So let us now crossfade to the launch pad, zoom in to our beautiful and very realistic looking rocket, little visual inspection there spinning around, and yeah, let's fire up those engines. Yeah, so liftoff, a little bit laggy, frame rate not great, but luckily, thanks to the power of video editing, you guys haven't got to sit through a horrible low FPS like I did. I can speed the footage up to smooth that gameplay right down, and obviously, you know, get things moving a bit quicker. And yeah, as the Kerbal Space Center rapidly disappears beneath us. Now I'm going for a very conservative gravity turn here, not tipping over, well, quite as early as I normally would, because you guys might figure this out yourselves if you have the power of sight, but this thing is not the most aerodynamic of payloads, so kind of wants to flip out of control very easily in the thicker parts of the atmosphere, so kind of wanted to just go as vertical as possible through the thickest parts of the air, and now we're kind of getting towards the thinner parts. We can start tipping over 45 degrees and, you know, heading on to space. And yeah, we've almost expended all of the fuel in our first stage, and looking at our apoapsis height, it's ready. There you go. It's already past the border of space. So yeah, very, very steep gravity turn compared to what I normally do. Now we're kind of really, really high up where the air resistance is almost non-existent. I'm now just going to point flat, actually pointing slightly down to really put most of our energy into raising our periapsis, so that we're going to be entering a nice circular orbit. So that's why our apoapsis is now dropping down a little bit on those Kerbal engineer readouts at the top left, because I'm wanting to raise our periapsis nice and quickly. And ready? Here we now are officially a space station, because we are in space. We have passed the 70-kilometer mark as we continue with our circularization. Now, we're not going to fully circularize with these engines here. I am going to stage them just before they run out of fuel. Let's see. There they go. Yeah, I staged them just before reaching orbit, so they'll end up, you know, burning up in the atmosphere, not getting left as debris left in space. And yeah, we circularized pretty much in one go. No time warping to apoapsis to raise our periapsis. We just did it all in one big burn, albeit with 3 different stages. So didn't launch at the best of times, because we're going to have to do a mid-course correction burn to get an encounter with Minmus, because unlike the Mun, Minmus is not at an equatorial orbit around Kerbin. So we're going to have to do this little maneuver halfway along, well, not halfway along, but, you know, part way along to get an encounter with the minty planets. I'm using the little graphical maneuver node editor just because I couldn't be bothered to move the camera around to reselect the encounter that we have in low Kerbin orbit. But there we are. Our course has pretty much been plotted. So now we're going to just point ourselves along the maneuver node vector on the nav ball and time warp to said maneuver node, and then we can just do it, right? Here we go. Normally, burns that raise our apoapsis to the border of Kerbin's sphere of influence are very, very long, especially for such a hefty payload, but we are being powered by 2 of those enormously powerful Rhino engines, so it was a very trivial amount of time, especially for you guys, where I can just speed the footage up and make it an almost instantaneous affair. And then we can replot our mid-course correction burn so we get a nice Minmus encounter. I'd like to get an equatorial Minmus orbit, just because... Actually, I have no idea. It just feels like the right thing to do. You know, any kind of space station, it's got to be equatorial, right? Except for the International Space Station in real life and the Lunar Gateway, if that ever happens. But, you know, I don't know. I like the simplicity of a nice equatorial space station. I did briefly consider placing the space station in a stationary orbit. So basically, Minmus' sphere of influence is large enough where you can actually place things in stationary orbits, so that basically your satellite or space station, whatever, is immobile relative to the surface. So the space station could stay directly above the surface base, always in, like, you can always see it, basically. But then I decided not to, just because... Actually, I don't know. Now I think about it, maybe that would have been a cool idea. Yeah, comment below. Should I have done that? Should I send another space station as a make-do to Minmus and have it be stationary directly over the surface space? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I did forget somehow to add mining rigs to the surface space, which is something I really wanted to do because the base systems mod, it adds a really cool little drill and ISRU, so... yeah, whoops. Maybe I'll send a separate module at some point. Maybe not next video because otherwise the content's too samey, right? But at some point, maybe I'll add another kind of surface-based module, try to go next to the other one that would be like the mining station. I don't know. So many ideas. A while ago, I feel like about a year ago, just under a year ago, I did pledge to do like a full kind of modded playthrough of KSP, not unlocking the tech tree, but just like building all the infrastructure on Minmus for a mining base and all that, and then building out in the infrastructure on Duna and all this. And I just sort of abandoned that series. I think the wind was sort of taken out of my sails when I built that giant refinery structure, and then the Kraken just destroyed it, and then I just got distracted doing other things, I suppose. So this is kind of like a spiritual reboot of that series, right? Because it wasn't even really a series. But Lowne Aerospace 3, which technically I guess this is a part of, is very much a series. So yeah, after today, we'll have obviously built a little base on the Mun. Next visit, and today we built kind of a space station in Minmus orbit and on the surface, and a surface base on the surface of Minmus. Maybe next time we could do a Mun space station and a Kerbal space station, or just go straight for like Duna, building out a Duna space station and choosing a place on the surface of Duna for a surface base. I'd like to send a scout mission down to try and find a nice flat region before just going straight in with a surface base. That's why Minmus is probably the best place in the whole game to build a surface base, because it's got some actually perfectly flat areas. Well, no, it's not perfectly flat because, of course, it is a spherical moon, but you get what I mean, right? It's like it's a flat region, the Minmus flat. Very, very easy to build surface bases on. Most other places in the game are not completely flat. I guess you could say the oceans of Eve and Lathe are pretty good because they are obviously flat technically, so you could build a floating base there. And I was thinking that actually this parts mod here that I'm using to build this surface base might be quite good for floating bases, because included that I haven't put on this particular base, you can get, it adds fuel tanks basically that same trapezoid shape as the habitation modules. So I think if we build a base like this and then underneath we mirror it so it's the same shape again, but upside down trapezoid fuel tanks, because I feel like that would look like a boat hull, right, that would float. Did that make sense? I hope it made sense. But that's food for thought for another time, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to just drop the footage down to real-time speed so you can watch me touch down on Minmus as slow as possible. I want it to be a nice, gentle landing because, of course, we got no landing gear to absorb the impact. So here we go, slow as possible, less than a meter per second. And we have touchdown. So we're going to begin the unpacking process now by, obviously we've got to detach those engine stages. They've got probe cores and reaction wheels on them so we can pilot them away. So here we go. First one has been decoupled. We can fire up the engines and then we can just like, you know, kamikaze it into the mountains nearby and destroy it harmlessly. I don't know if harmlessly is the right word to describe the destruction of something. I don't know. Anyway, quickly switched back to the vessel using the tracking station. I did a bit of editing there, so you don't have to sit through all of that. And yeah, pointed at the ground, firing up the engines to obliterate this thing and not leave any debris. Although I'd say that we're not going to leave debris in this one, but some of the Rhino engine stage survived the crash on Minmus. We're going to have to do something about that at some point in the near future. I don't know if you can't see it here, but there you go, you can see him in the background there. So that was a bit annoying, and in fact, I don't know why I even drew your attention to it, because you might not have noticed it and thought I was brilliant at this game. So yeah, maybe I should learn to not talk as much. Anyway, so yeah, we are now in the process of destroying that second landing engine fuel tank contraption in a similar fashion to the first. There we are. Obliterated. Nice. So, we're going to now go ahead and unpack the surface base. So, just do a quick visual inspection, making sure everything survived. I think it did. Again, we touched down nice and slowly. We unfurled that communications dish just there. Now, we're going to go ahead and press our action group to deploy the solar panels. There we go. And then that looked nice. The next thing to do on our list is deploy all of our habitat modules. So like I said earlier during the time lapse, some of the modules are inaccessible until you extend them. They're the Mark II habitats and science labs and all that. So there we are. Everything appears to be deployed. So let us now... Oh yeah, the lights needed sorting out. I'm just going to quickly do those action groups there. Bang, done. Now we can turn on the lights and hey, presto. Look at that. Now, before we go to the space station to unpack all of that, we need to do a tour of this thing using the free IVA mod. So, I'm going to crossfade over to live commentary Matt to conduct that tour for you. Okay, thank you, editing Matt. It's live Matt here to do the surface base tour. So let's switch to Lowne is going to be the one to take us on the tour. So we're using the free IVA mod to walk around the surface base. If you've not got free IVA mod installed, guys, what are you doing? Install it immediately. It's great. So there's 4 arms to the central core. So let's just start with this one here. This appears to be a little habitation module. It's got a little bed there, picture of home, teddy bear, and a very low resolution SSTO image with like a little TV at the foot of the bed. Isn't that nice? And we've got a nice little cozy living space here. No more races with the extinguisher. Yeah. Sorry, we're a bit of a killjoy space program CEO, guys. Now, this is all well and good, but it's a little bit cramped. However, the next room, if I remember correctly, the layout of this thing, we've got another little crew cabin here with a table. I was about to say chopping board, but that wouldn't have made sense contextually. Look how large this living space is. This is one of the expanding crew modules. They sort of expand like those big American-style RVs you get. And then we can open this one. This is like a little command module. Kind of unnecessary, but, you know. And then we've got the greenhouse, conservatory, whatever you want to call it. How cool is this? Lovely panoramic view of the Minmus flats. We can go EVA if we want. I don't want to at this stage, though. We're going to carry on with the tour. Look at these. Again, the views that these windows provide. Is that Kerbal over there? I don't have distant object account. Oh, no, it's just a white speck. Can we even see Kerbal? This is something I probably should have checked before hitting record, but what are you going to do? Oh, there's the debris left on the surface. Oh, well, whatever. We'll continue the tour. So that was arm 1 of 4. Let's go ahead and explore the rest of the space station, or surface base, I should say. So, next thing we're going to open up is this. This is one of the science labs. Again, this is one of the extending modules. We've got a little experiment bay here. Do not press red button. All right, better do as it says. Repairing little science equipment piece there. Yeah, a little area. And then, of course, is the garden room where we're growing things. Another extending module. And yeah, that's kind of funny. We can kind of see an X-ray view of the rest of the base over there. I guess this is a good room to see if we can see Kerbal. I think we can. So we'll continue with the tour. I think it's just another, glass house thing at the end. So let us now hop our way back to the central region, or central core module. That's the word I'm looking for. And continue to open this little door. In theory, there we go. And let's open this arm. So I think this is just another copy of like the habitation wing that we've already explored. Let's see. Yeah, you see all these big drawer for cupboards to do unpack. Yeah, that's never going to happen. Yeah, this is basically just a clone of that other arm, isn't it? So let us continue with the tour. Leap, hop, skip, and jump our way back to the center. There's a Will Welcome in there. And then here we have another science lab. And oh, this hatch looks like it's locked. Oh, yes, because on the other side of that hatch is a nuclear reactor, I think. So really don't want to be walking through that. So let's find the ladder, because it's not quite done yet. This core module has its own interior that we need to explore. Well, we're kind of exploring it already. But there you go, there's the ladder. So we'll climb the ladder. And we've got some more Kerbals enjoying the view. Enjoying... What are you watching there, buddy? That's cool. And yeah, another little bedroom area. So yeah, we've got more beds than we need. So we've got lots of space for activities. So we're going to now go on EVA and, well, in theory, climb up and onto the ladder of this. Unfortunately, there was no way to connect the science lab to the core module, so you kind of have to go on EVA to get into the science lab. But doesn't that add some excitement to the base? So yeah, so the lab is a vertical structure, so we can just climb it. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the interior of the Kerbal Space Program Science Lab by now. And then we can go up to the top hatch and see that it's occupied. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry everyone. That was horrifying. Yeah, looking out at the sun. Is that Kerbal? I found it after all these years in the mun as well. So, what's this person's name? Molten Kerbal, having a lovely time. Looking back at his home that he's never going to ever again. I will forget to, bring these covers back. So there we are. That's the tour of the surface base complete. So I guess now I can just hand you back over to Editor Matt to kind of to introduce the space station, I suppose. Thank you, Live Matt. Love that guy. So we are in Minmus orbit deploying that big old gravity ring of the space station, and I'm orienting ourselves radially, so I don't know, just looks more satisfying, I guess, having this thing positioned vertically relative to this particular view of Minmus's surface with the free cam camera mode. And yeah, I'm playing this back in real time, so you can bask, you can bear witness to the very satisfactory deployment animation of the ring. So there we are, all the habitation modules have unfurled. Now for added strength, they're going to link themselves with these curved struts that emerge from the kind of base structural foundation part of those modules. And there we are, the base has been deployed. One more thing we need to do though, and that is of course spin up that gravity ring, so we can just right click it and press start rotation. Now bear in mind here, you need 3 engineer Kerbals on board the station to be able to do this. So if you want to use this mod and build a gravity ring like this, make sure you have 3 engineer Kerbals that you can in fact unfold the gravity ring and, you know, spin it up and all that. And look, we can make use of our deep space network here, so when we're on the far side of Minmus, we can still connect to the Kerbal Space Center by just connecting to a deep space relay. I know it's kind of very inefficient, but, you know, signals travel instantaneously in the Kerbal system. So yeah, excellent. Anyway, now this is in place, I believe we're now in store for another tour with Live Matt with free IVA. So I'm going to hand you over to Live Matt to do the tour of the space station and indeed conclude this video. Over to you. Okay, thank you, Editing Matt, who joined me here in Minmus orbit. Here is the space station, all deployed with Minmus there, sitting mintily below us. So let's go and choose a tour guide. We'll go with Lodney Kerman, one of our... Oh, wrong button. Didn't need him to do that. But check out that SpaceX suit. By the way, people sometimes ask me where these SpaceX suits come from. They are in the game. You have to there's like a change spacesuit button, and then the SpaceX suits will be there. So let us now leave our seat and do a little tour of the space station. So we've got this little cupola module at the top with a little hologram of what looks like Kerbin there. So that's nice. We will now open up this hatch and commence the tour. So this room, and I really should have checked what these modules are called before embarking on this, because now I'm going to have to just make it up as I go along. The plan. There you go. Heroes, Jeb, Bill, and Bob go to the Mun. Well, the plan's already gone wrong, because we've not got to the Mun. We've gone to Minmus, but, you know, whatever. Learning experience. Strange little parallax effect out that window there. Yeah, we're going to open up this hatch and continue with the tour. So this is the cage room. I think this is just like a kind of a core module type thing. Don't know. We can decorate that out, make it whatever we want. And also, what's through this hatch? Okay, this appears to be a science lab, I hope, of some kind. Another Kerbal there, just chilling. As we kind of clumsily make our way through here. So, we have some doors. Let's open up these hatches and see what's inside. So here we got all-weather notebook. Kind of didn't really need an all-weather one, right? We're on a spaceship, right? There is no weather, hopefully. Okay, what's through this one? I see you got a nice little storage area here. Oh, that's the EVA hatch. You don't want to go through there. This room. Oh, yeah, these are my cylinders. We don't talk about my cylinders. And then we've got a little microscope. And, yeah, some equipment, I suppose. And then what's behind this one? Oh, no, this is cool. This is my desktop setup. Check that out. Okay, and then we'll continue. Wait, which way do we go? It's this way, isn't it? We'll go this way. I like how I'm opening the hatches through. Ah, here we go. It's time for the main event. This is the giant centrifuge. So, let us now attempt to board. Oh, wow. First try. We'll grab the ladder. And look at this. Crunch. We break our legs on the floor. Look at this. Oh, I feel sick already. But we've got this lovely view out of this window. We can now walk around because there is gravity here. So, the Kerbals will be spending most of their time inside the gravity ring unit. So, this is the gym, obviously. And I guess storage. There's no need to unpack here. Let's go ahead and carry on exploring the rest of the space station. Kind of a visual glitch here. That sort of blockade thing appears. But, you know, only a minor issue. We will now continue. By the way, guys, if you want to install this mod yourself, when you download it and extract the zip file, there's like an extra file that adds the IVA. So I don't think these parts have IVA by default. You kind of need to add it yourself. But it's very self-explained in the mods README. So yeah, we're now entering. You see gravity slowly taking hold of the Kerbal as we descend down to this unit, which appears to be the bedrooms, I think, if memory serves me right. Yes. So we've got nicer living quarters than those on the surface space. They've got their own rooms with their own laptops and everything. So yeah, I think all the rooms are identical visually, so we don't need to waste our time doing tours of those. Oh, let's try and climb that ladder one more time. I'm trying to remember, I think so there's kind of 4 modules, I want to say, on this gravity ring. And I think there's only actually 2 unique ones, then they're just like doubled across, so... But we'll have to see. I could be wrong, I could be misremembering. So where's... Oh, our Kerbal seems to be drifting this way, so we'll go for this arm. So let's see. So if I'm correct, then this will be the same as what we've just seen. So let's have a look. I could be wrong, and I was. This is different, I think. I already forgot. Like, yeah, some like cherry tomatoes growing there. Some carrots, maybe. Don't know. I'm not a plantologist. And yeah, I think these are some more bedrooms here. Let's have a little look. So ganders, yes, they are. So yeah, we'll carry on exploring. There's only one more module on the gravity ring to look at. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Whoops. Kerbal got smacked in the face and fell down the ladder. Where? Oh, that was interesting. There's a minor lack of collision there. But again, we'll have to sort of phase through this little barrier that appears sometimes. And there you can see the gravity ring. See, look how far we can see now those hatches are open. So one more to go. Here we go. Oh. There we are. And we can see our descent gradually speeds up as the gravity builds up. And is this like this is like a little dining area. So there we are. Little server rack over here. Perfect addition to any kitchen and dining area. And yeah. Keyboard for the little computer just there. And a little plant growing. Isn't that lovely? I believe that's the tour of the centrifuge ring, gravity ring, completed. But we're not done yet with the tour of the space station. There's still a few more modules to take a look at, so let's do that now. So which way do we go? I'm completely disoriented now. I think it's this way, because that hatch is closed. Whoa! Oops. Here we go. And then, okay, that's it then. This is the final module. So we have another little cupola. This one's blocked because that's the docking port that attached this thing to the surface base during transit from Kerbin to Minmus. So guys, that's basically the tour over. So now there's one more thing I need to do. I'm going to grab hold of this ladder. I'm going to go down here into this little room. I'm going to sit at my desk just here. I'm going to sit on my bed, morph through it a little bit. I'm going to use this computer, and I'm going to continue practice coding on boot.dev, who of course sponsored this video. Thank you so much to boot.dev. And yeah, if your name is on the right hand side of the screen, my Patreons and YouTube channel members make all of this content possible. Thank you so much for your support. If you are downloading this craft file, it's in the video description. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. I very much hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one. Any ideas about what other mods to add? Definitely going to do planet side exploration technology. I think that's the name of the mod. Definitely going to do that at some point very soon. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.